okay, I know how to use formal methods for helping my specification process, okay? And among formal methods, we may consider, for instance, the goal model approach, where your functional and non-functional requirements may be represented through graphs corresponding to a goal. And then what we can do is, okay, let's treat the emotional requirements as non-functional requirements that are linked to some, let's say, traditional functional requirements. We may ask the analyst to say what is the degree of relation that may be foreseen between non-functional requirements and emotional requirements. And then we may make use of tools that are already in the market that allow you to simulate the goal model representation in order to derive dependencies, to compute the amount of dependencies that you have with respect to emotions. Okay, so let's see a simple example. Okay, if I consider my functional requirements of a learning system, okay, among the services that a learning system should provide is to collect the feedback from users and to manage a discussion forum. Okay, so this is a functional requirement. And there are other services that are considered in my system, but let's focus on it. Okay, then I may say, okay, these functional requirements is related, so this goal is related to some non-functional requirement that are represented as soft goals. For instance, accessibility and privacy, okay, these are non-functional requirements. Of course, if you are opening a forum, basically you are lacking security, okay? It means that you have a negative impact on security giving a service like opening a discussion, okay? While, for instance, with respect to the other non-functional requirement that we tagged user experience, okay, it's true that opening a forum has a positive impact with respect to these non-functional requirements, okay? But then we can go one step below and looking at the emotions that may be associated to these non-functional requirements. For instance, boredom or sense of confidence, trust, annoyance, they are emotions, okay? And we can ask the analyst to say, okay, but what is in this context, what is how can we quantify, okay, the emotional impact of, with respect to accessibility, for instance, of introducing a forum, a discussion forum. And then what we can do is, okay, I give this stuff to a tool like JUCMN, okay, it runs the simulation and it provides me the list of the most relevant emotional requirements that are associated to the service that I'm interested in. And then we have a second approach, which is possible. Okay, instead of using a traditional approach, we may say, okay, but just rely on using generative AI. Okay, and so at this point, what we can do, okay, we have an amount of data on previous systems. We have reviews, we have feedback, we have surveys, interviews, we have possibly also physiological data, okay? And we may use all of these data in order to build an emotion knowledge base. With the advantage of the fact that in most of the cases you may categorize the information. Okay, we may identify some characteristics of the users with respect to which you may cluster them. And then on top of it we may build an emotion elicitor that has as a data source these knowledge base, as another data source the functional requirements that have an emotional impact, and having as an output the correspondence between emotions and functional requirements. Okay, so I don't want to get into much details, but this is the overall structure of the tool that we build, that has as an input, as you see, of the knowledge base creator data that are available on feedback, reviews, and so on. And after building these knowledge base, we may produce a vector database that can be given as a source to our LLM, as well as the target system documentation. Okay, we made an effort also to design suitable prompts in order to drive as best as possible the language models, and then we get the emotions that may be elicited. Okay, more in details, these are the steps that correspond to the first process. So we start from data sources, the reviews and the surveys. We extract reviews, we clean data, we identify the product features, we compute the emotions corresponding to the emotion features by using already existing tools, and we store them into a knowledge base. And then in the second action, so the elicitor, the emotion elicitor, we start from the target functional requirements. We use the fact that we may vectorize the information on our knowledge base, and then we can, by a suitable prompt, we may derive the emotion associated to the functional requirement. Okay, so just to give you an example, when I have for a learning system, when I consider a functional requirement like enable feedback mechanism and discussion through forums, chats, and announcements. This is a service, okay, corresponding to this service. We may say, if I consider the cluster of instructors that has technical background, what is the most associated emotions to that may be linked to this requirement? For instance, sense of confidence and trust. And you see that instead, if I consider the third cluster, so the students that has technical background, okay, with respect to that, possibly they are more feeling annoyed. Okay, they are not so interested in it. Okay, so the advantage of the second approach with respect to the first approach is that it allows us not only to elicit the emotional requirements, but also to associate them to the different categories. Okay, so can we compare what we get in one on one side and we get on the other side? We consider, of course, in order to derive, to get some experimental values, you have to rely on some open library of software requirements. So we particularly consider the pure data sets. We just consider different case studies belonging to different scenarios, so e-learning, healthcare, smart home, gaming, and well-being. We select then these different case studies. We were able to identify which are the functional requirements that are more relevant with respect to emotions. And then for the first approach, okay, we should manually, okay, identify or supported by LLMs, okay, we may identify the non-functional requirements that are linked to these functional requirements and the emotions that might be associated to them. While in the second approach, it will be done automatically through a generative AI. Okay, but when comparing the two approaches, what we get? We get that the two approaches are complementary. The advantage of the second approach is the fact that it might categorize the emotion with respect to different clusters of users, while the first approach we cannot do that. And so in particular you may see that the undesired emotions are very well captured by the second approach, the one which is based on generative AI. And the second conclusion that we got out of our experiments is the fact that in general there is a good matching between the way emotions are considered in one case or in the other. Okay? So the unmatched emotions are in our experiments are very few in in 3 of the 5 scenarios, and they are mainly related again to the fact that generative AI allows you to better deal with clustering for 2 out of the 5 case studies. Okay, so this was the first thing that I wanted to tell you. So if I consider emotions within my software specification, I might make use of different strategies, but this allows me to enrich my specification document with something that might be very relevant at the end. Okay, so if this is almost clear and simple, what about sustainability requirements? So let's go to the other direction. So the emotional requirements basically are related to the single user experience with respect to the system. But there are issues that are most relevant, that are societal issues that should be considered while specifying a software system. You know that the United States asked all the world basically to have 17 goals, okay, to be accomplished within a given amount of time, the Sustainable Development Goals. And actually software systems are relevant for almost all of these areas, all of these goals. But are we as software engineers taking care of it or not? In particular, if we are looking at the different dimensions of sustainability, that is not just environmental sustainability, but also economic sustainability, social sustainability, technical sustainability. which impact may come out when considering, let's say, the commitment of software engineering people to provide systems that are complete with such objects. For instance, when we have a big issue, a big problem now with the digital waste. Okay, we are producing systems that after 5 years are obsolete, right? But this means that we are contributing to the waste problem, which is also the garbage, the home garbage issue, okay, in another way. Are we considering, for instance, the longevity of our social system as a value that goes in the direction of sustainability? If I'm building a system that was to have a long life, then I have to think from the beginning to emphasize modularity, for instance, in the design. But that's the technical side, okay? But okay, if I design a system that heavily relies on the cloud, I have to think about what is the carbon footprint of a useless usage of cloud. What is the energy consumption which is associated, but considering only the single usage of my system, but when the system is used by thousands of people, okay, by looking then not just in terms of what is the cost of using that device or that application, but what might be the impact of the fact that many people use that system. And then on the social side, this is even more tricky in the sense that, okay, I'm designing an app for my smartphone, and I have to think, okay, but what happens if this app is used by a child which is 7 years old and has a smartphone? What is my responsibility designing, for instance, applications that do not cause dependence, psychological dependence? What is the impact, the societal impact of developing or designing applications that introduce age discrimination? My mom is 95 years old. Up to 5 years back, she was able to manage her bank account online. Last year, she told me, okay, she's 94, okay, good age. Last year, she told me, I'm not able anymore to do what I was able to do last year, not because I'm getting older, but because the system is becoming too complex with respect to my capability to deal with, for instance, the fact that every 2 weeks I have to change the password, that the two factors authentication requires me to, and so on and so on. But there is not only this aspect, there is also an economic aspect. Everybody knows that the cost of using software is not getting lower, it's getting higher, right? So this means that if I look at the world and I see the world that basically is not all the same, there are more rich countries and less rich countries. In the way I design my software, is my product getting to increase or decrease the economic discrimination? the access to cloud services is not the same all over the world in terms of cost of having access to the internet, for instance. Okay, so I think that this is an issue that has not too much investigated and considered within the software engineering community, but in general for people that like you that are doing research in software. So it's true that some direction has been already given for grant up to now. For instance, green computing is an area that already has seen some development. Okay, carbon footprint measurement is something which has been considered so far. Okay, but what is missing is the fact that most of the approaches up to now are just directed to the single product, to the single use of the product, not on the impact of the multiple usage of product, or the impact of the societal impact, not just the environmental impact, on the economic impact. Okay, there are areas that really are under considered. So you remember my first slide. Okay, I said that when writing requirements, a requirement has a motivation of existence if the customer requires it or the type of product requires it. Okay, I think that this is not enough. I think that we should consider the fact that a requirement should exist also because it is necessary to guarantee sustainability. And this is a point that might give rise to new research. Okay, so I really don't want to bother you with technical details, also to give the space to the other keynote speakers. But what we did basically is we designed a framework that supports the identification of the sustainability issues that may be related to your functional requirements and functional requirements, suggesting which additional sustainability requirements you should add to your specification, and making these new requirements in relation with your existing set of requirements, and finally providing support in order to optimize the resulting set of requirements. Okay, as I told you, I don't want to get into the details, but just to tell you that it's not simple, okay? So we have to mix together machine learning approaches, RAG approaches, LLMs, and agentic RAG, and so on. This is just the architecture of the three components. I want just to tell you what we can get at the end. Okay. For instance, if I have a case study like this one, okay, you are not able to read it, but it's a smartphone case study where you say that you have a digital phone system that should allow users to manage devices, to control the environment. Okay. And then there is a description of this system that should manage your devices in a proper manner. Okay, out of a description of your product, okay, through our SEER system, what we can say, okay, by considering the economic dimension with respect to the affordability category, you are suggested to add a requirement like the system should be a low-cost solution for home automation. That the system should support independent living for residents. So I have to think about the fact that in the home there should be people in wheelchair, there should be old people, and if you didn't consider it in your requirement, this is something that might be necessary. That the system must establish standardized protocols to ensure compatibility between existing IoT devices and platforms. So your mass system should be compatible with what is already in your home. Otherwise, you risk to create new waste, for instance. That the system must monitor and control lighting levels to reduce unnecessary energy usage. Okay, so you are not just to be able to manage your lighting. You have to monitor the fact that you might reduce the energy usage through it. Okay, so this is what we get, and we have a final question. Do emotional and sustainability issues have any overlapping? Let's say that emotional requirements are linked to the single user experience. Sustainable requirements are more related to a long-term impact of the system that you are designing with respect not to the single user but to the community. Okay, and the main overlap then is on social sustainability. Okay, over there we may see that if the two approaches are combined together, we may gain something. Okay, so at the end of this talk, what lesson can we take home? Possibly never attend any more a Cortesi's lecture. That's a good lesson that you may learn. Okay, but one possible lesson that we can take home is that as we become more and more dependent on software, we need to be more demanding on the software production process, and in particular in the requirement engineering phase. So over there we should ask more. And we need to look more at the single user, but also to have a broader view, and the integration of emotional and sustainability requirement might be effective. It may very well be supported by AI, but we have to remember that AI is always dumber than we are. Okay, so we should be always smarter than AI in order to use it in a proper way. Okay, I just wanted to give you, if you are interested to get into these two tools, the QR code, so I make it available to you these works that are, both of them, the emotional one has already been published in a journal, the second one is under revision now. And I really want to thank you for listening to this lecture, and asking you to feel free to contact me anytime. And if you pass by Venice, please tell me. Okay, that's it.
Thank you very much, sir, for such an interesting speech. keynote speaker is Dr. Debobrat Nayak, a wellness security expert with a PhD from IIT Bombay and over 2 decades of experience in leading global organizations. I now invite Dr. Nayak to deliver his keynote address. Sir, please.
Good morning, all of you. So, the topic says that we have artificial intelligence, mobile broadband, and cyber security that is going to revolutionize the next generation digital landscape. So, before starting this, I just want to say the whole world is talking 3 words. You go to any parts of Europe, you go to US. Recently, I have traveled many areas, and I find out they are talking 3 words. What exactly they are talking is A, B, and C. What is A stands for? A means it is artificial intelligence. B stands for it is broadband, that is mobile broadband or fixed broadband. C stands for it is cloud or cyber security. You go to anywhere in the world, you will find out they all are talking these 3 words. But if you see in the Indian context, what exactly India is talking about ABC. Our Honorable Prime Minister has told A means it is Atmanirbhar Bharat. Make India self-reliant. We have to find out what exactly we have to build ourselves. B means our Honorable Prime Minister told that we have to build the BharatNet. BharatNet means each and every talukas or panchayats, we have to connect our internet so that our digital divide which has been there, whether it's connected or unconnected, now they all need to be connected. C means the Honorable Prime Minister has told, come, make in India. So the product that we are making, that we have to make in India, so that we have to find out how the Indian entrepreneurship startups that will shape the next generation. So does it mean that it is decoupling from the world? It is not. Digital world is very much interconnected. If you understand the analogy given by the Honorable Prime Minister is that we have to work with the various stakeholders which has been present in the global scenario and to connect and then find out what extent India has to march in the technology front. So that is what the message he wants to give. That means who wants to digitally sign, you have to connect each other and then you have to find out how these things will take the shape. 5G is one of the technology that we need to consider. Basically, when you consider 5G, that gives the whole world is the $1 trillion economy. And 5G is mainly transferring not only the every parts of the life, it is transferring each and every individual presence here. So basically, when we consider the 5G aspects, it is not considered as a technology. If you consider 2G, it is considered as a technology. 3G, 4G, all are considered as a technology which is used in the mobile front. But if you consider 5G, 5G is not considered as a technology. 5G is considered as a ecosystem. What exactly we are building in the ecosystem is that healthcare system, educational system, transportation system, everything is going to run on top of 5G. And that is also contributing to the global economy and also in the Indian economy. The GDP of every economy or every country lies how well we are positioning 5G in the digital front. So that is where you will find out India is a forefront runner in the 5G. We are the first country who has rolled out maximum 5G in most of the parts of India. So that depends on the operator we are running, is whether it's a Jio, whether it's a Airtel, whether it's a Vodafone Idea. or BSNL, we have the various kinds of operators which have been taking 5G into the nooks and corners. When it takes the 5G into different parts, you are the people who are fortunate to have the 5G phone. If you have the 5G phone, there are a lot of advantages you can get. For example, whenever you are using this kind of phones, basically what happened, the video that you are getting is uninterrupted video. I was just giving the example. Yesterday what I did, I came out from my home, I switched on my washing machine. The moment I switch on the machine, I have an app in my mobile phone. I switch on the washing machine in my app, then I went to my office. After a certain period of time, I get a message that your washing is completed. Then I switch off my washing machine. So that kind of power you can get whenever you have a 5G in your hand. And your devices are connected to lot of 5G backbones. So that gives the idea is that the many of the devices which are now running in standalone, they are now going to run in the telecom networks, and they will be connected by the 5G. And the moment you will connect into the 5G, you can probably, if you do not have this kind of app, then what you can do, you could have called to your home, you could have called to your servant and see whether he or she is available or not, whether you have to switch off your washing machine. So there are a lot of probability needs. But if you have an app in your hand, you can do this. The objective of giving this is that you guys now can develop a lot of 5G applications. The moment you will develop the 5G applications, currently NASCOM has done a study. In the 5G, we have 5 lakh jobs are available. 5 lakhs jobs are recently available if the student wants to test their career in 5G, developing the application. So that is the power of technology, and these kind of apps are not very computationally intensive apps. You can develop by writing 100, 200 lines of code. The moment you develop these apps, you can use how actually this can be transferred to the various kinds of lives. Another example I am giving is that recently one of the students was developed a PDF file, and that file what exactly it does, whenever a person has a heart attack, he has been put in the ambulance. The moment it has been put in the ambulance, that takes all the parameters connected to that person, and it creates a PDF file and transmits through the 5G network, and it reaches to the doctor's app. By the time the person reaches in the hospital, the doctor has all the parameters in his hand. So in heart attack, every second counts. Because of this 5G network, high-speed video can transfer. All its data has been transferred from one point to another point. The doctor can immediately save the life. So I was asking that particular person how much, and it has been now taken by Jio. That person has been recruited by Jio, paying him 50 lakhs. Salary, a young professional working in the final year. So I just asking how many lines of code you have written to develop this application. He told it is 256 lines of code. I think you all are writing this, which is not an exception. But you have to think what exactly the industry required and how actually you have to develop the application. That need to be industry specific. The moment you have that kind of things in your mind, then probably you will find out your job prospect will be there. As I told you, there are 3 technologies. One is artificial intelligence. India has their AI mission. In the AI mission, we are currently requiring 7 lakh artificial intelligence professionals. So that is the job requirements in India. I am not quoting anywhere in the world because I have many of the government committees. And in the cyber security, we are coming with the national cyber security strategy. And we require 5 lakh cyber security professionals immediately to cater this. Similarly, in terms of cloud, we require 3 lakh professionals. So you are the people which will fill up all these gaps. So the technology is transferring into these areas. So you need to understand how the industry is going to cater these kind of technological changes, and that will serve the human mankind. as in the initial speech you have seen the British sir has told that you are developing the technology. If it does not serve the humanity or the human and go to the last mile, it does not make any sense. I was just seeing my mobile in your room, I find out it is still 4G connected. It is not 5G connected. But if you see India, we are going to many places, we are 5G connected. So what is actually it is happening? You go everywhere, they will say, hey, we leave the marketing jargon is, we all are giving 5G. But what exactly we are getting? Just now I was checking in my mobile, you are 4G connected. The reason being is that we are running two networks. One is called as the non-standalone network. In the non-standalone network, your access is 5G, your core is 4G. You are running a standalone network where your access is 5G, your core is 5G. So you need to see, based on that probability of switching from one technology to another technology happens when actually your access technology changes. But that gives you the connectivity. But that does not give you the experience you want to be used in the 5G scenario. So as I told you, there are many kind of devices will be connected in the 5G network. I have told you that in my home, my washing machine, my refrigerator, the day you will come, everything will be connected in the 5G network. All the IoT devices will be connected in the 5G network because it has tremendous amount of bandwidth. It provides you a lot of experience. When I connect all these things, I have my mobile with applications, I can control all these devices. But as these devices will be connected each other, you will find out the attack surface will be more. If the attack surface will be more, there will be a lot of hackers who can go into this system and they can hack your devices. You think about your small child you have put in your house and he is playing and you are monitoring through your app. What will happen? The hacker will go and manipulate your app and say that your child is in a different situation. You have to rush back, you have to go to the police station, you have to do so many things. So that is the power of changing the device scenario when actually you will use in the 5G. And basically you will find out that when recently you have seen there will be a pager attack happens. When this pager attack happens, you have to find out what exactly this pager attack means. That means you have to find out the geospatial location of that particular peoples. To trace this location of these peoples, you have to find out where these locations are there. Who are the peoples are in these locations? How can I launch an attack based on this? So you have seen the global scenario, how these things happens. And you have also seen that in the 5G using 5G networks, we are using high-speed drones. When you are using high-speed drones, you have seen that the attacks has been happens to very VIP persons. So that is how actually you have to find out how the drones take the particular location and goes and attack it. To prevent all these things, 5G has inbuilt, comes out a lot of features. One is called as the end-to-end 5G security architecture will provide you very good encryption mechanisms which are very good well-proven NIST-based encryption algorithms has been embedded there. You have authentication systems which has been embedded in the 5G systems, and you have been finding out that these algorithms are already tested algorithms, and it is not that very easy. You can break these algorithms or you can penetrate these algorithms and connect. So that is the beauty of 5G, which is providing you two important things. I was traveling in Japan in a train. The train is traveling at 350 km/h. It was a very high speed train was going on. I was doing my banking transactions, I stopped it. My Japanese friend told, hey, why you stopped it? I said, might be the connectivity will be get lost because I am traveling with a very high speed. He told, don't mind, nothing will happen. All our trains has been connected by 5G access points. The moment I use it, my banking transaction go very smoothly. But if you see this kind of scenario need to be coming, that high speed, it is moving with the applications, connected to a high speed backbone, that gives the connectivity, and that is what actually India is aspiring. India is now leading in 5G, and you are the fortunate because you were born at this age to use the technology, and that is the power of 5G that it is going. And next you will find out when you are roaming into the different scenario. I came from Gurgaon, Delhi. I am here in Calcutta in a particular location. If my location ID will be given, then probably my roaming location will be get traced. So which is not possible in terms of 5G technology. 5G will provide a very specific protocols which are prints. They are very much secure protocols and they give you the roaming protection. When you roam from one point to another point, it is very difficult to trace you and to find out where exactly the location is. So that's why I told you, a very well-known personality of a particular country has been attacked, has been killed by another country using a particular drone system. Because the moment they know where exactly the roaming locations and the person is moving, that gives the idea of where exactly the attacks need to be launched. So that is where you have to build the system where the security has to be taken care. The most important thing is you have to consider the privacy aspect of 5G in scenario. You take the example of 2G, 3G and 4G. All these are connected with the IMEI number. This IMEI number will specifically tell you where exactly your location is. And that is connected to all the telecom service providers. If you have to get a law interface agency wants to get the exact location of a particular person, so she has to find out what is the IMEI number. The moment I know the IMEI number, I can trace where exactly the mobile phone is. The moment I trace the mobile phone, I can trace the geo locations. But that is not possible in the 5G. 5G does not use IMEI number. It uses a parameter called as Sswc. Sswc means it is an encrypted IMEI number, and this is called as Sswc. And this encrypted IMEI number is used in the 5G system. So that gives an additional advantage of you can do your banking transactions, you can do all these vehicles can move, the vehicle telemetry can be made secure when actually you are using the 5G systems. So that is the power of 5G that we are getting, and that gives how actually you can make the system inbuilt secure, so that on top of that you can find out how you can run your applications and make it secure. There are a couple, I thought I am coming to an engineering college, let us give me some problems which is industry specific. If you want to build your careers, please take some of the problems and develop everything, and then you will find out 5G, and you will get a lot of jobs which will be available in the industry scenario. You have to just take a look, and if you want to build small projects, you have to take care of all these things. But I just want to request to all of you, don't try to build all the projects by yourself alone. If you want to build all the projects yourself alone, then you will land up doing nothing, because these are very specific problems. I'll just give one example. It's a real life example happens to me. I was traveling in my car, I was traveling in Gurgaon. I was traveling with a very high speed. I'm driving my BMW. I was driving with a very high speed. So my son was sitting behind my chair, and he was watching some movie. When I was driving, it was clear road, nothing was there. I suddenly put my brake. The moment I put my brake, my son fell down. My wife was sitting near to me. She told me, what happened? Why you apply sudden brake? Nothing is in front of you. Then I told her that I was thinking, I'm being a cyber security professional. If there will be a cyber attack happens to all the ATC controls all the aeroplanes, all the flights will be flying in the air, and how I am going to save all the flights being a cyber security professional. So that is what I was thinking, and I was out of mind. I put my brake. I thought how I can save whole India. Then my wife told me, first you think how to save your children and wife. So my wife told me, you have to first think how to save your children and wife because you are driving the car. Not to save the whole India, all the ATC and the flights are traveling and then we are gone. So that is what I am saying. Don't take all the problems alone. If you take all the problems, then you will end up doing nothing. In the course of your careers, you will develop small problems. And then you solve those small problems, then you can solve a bigger problem. So they are like, basically, if you develop small problem, then you solve it, then basically you can integrate all these modules and you will come out with solving a bigger problem. So that's why the objective of telling this thing is you take a small problem, try to solve it and make industry specific, and if you are making an industry specific problem, you are solving it, industry will be definitely take to you. So I just want to give a very important thing is that those who are going for MTech and PhD. So I thought there will be a people from your side who wants to take a very serious problems to solve for the MTech and PhD. So that's why we have crafted all these things. We have Center of Excellence where we run specific problems. If you want to solve those specific problems, you all are welcome to join in our Center of Excellence. And we will build this kind of security in the 5G systems. So that is where actually I thought I would give a bigger problem where your MTech and PhD in the college can take it and solve it. Whether you are doing very specific problems, take small problems and solve it. If you want to take your career, solve bigger problems, you solve it. When I started my career in IIT Bombay, doing my PhD, I was the first to solve how all the base stations to connect each other. That time people are laughing at me. They told, what do you think? The operator are going to share the network? They are all operating in a standalone mode. They will never share the resources. That time, I was putting my effort when the operator or the telecom service providers will share their networks, share their base stations, the resources. So how you are going to develop the algorithms to take care of the security factors into account. So that is where my PhD thesis was. So now you see all the operators, whether it's AT&T, Verizon, you take the example of China Mobile, or you take the example of British Telecom, you take the example of Jio, Airtel, everybody is sharing the resources. So become a cost effective in this competitive world. So that depends on how you can secure these things. So that is where actually you have to think if you want to take bigger problems. Just to give us some kind of feelings that 4G systems was standalone systems. It was a technology which has been evolved happens from 3G to 4G. But 5G is not a technology, it is an ecosystem. On the top of 5G, you have healthcare, you have education system, you have transportation system, you have so many systems are running it. So you see there will be a lot of virtual machines are running. All the 5G will be run in the core cloudification environment. So cloud is very important when actually you are designing the system. So that's why you will find out there will be many virtual machines will run in the 5G systems. And what exactly the advantage is, I have equipment which is fixed and providing me some kind of services, but I have equipment which is flexible, providing me services whenever I want. Let me give you a practical example. You have Diwali and you have New Year. What exactly you guys do? You send a lot of messages to your near and dear ones. In that, you spread messages by sending to the telecom service providers. All of their servers are being flooded with a lot of messages. And these messages have to be solved by the telecom service providers. They have to send that message back to your near and dear ones. So, after Diwali, after New Year, what will happen to all these resources? They all will be idle. They will not be used. But if I am using a cloud service provider, if I am using the elasticity nature of the cloud, I can pull my resources whenever it is required. I can push my resources whenever it is not required. So that is the advantage of 5G. where the core is being cloudification, and many of our operators, thanks to Jio, Airtel, all have been transformed their core into the cloud parts. So this is the advantage of using the 5G technology. So before going to the artificial intelligence based technology, because I have told you I will touch 3 technologies. 5G is very important, and I have told you how actually it is important. You have to consider your mobile phone. If you have a mobile phone in your hand, you need not need anything. You can develop so many things, and you can find out how much powerful you are based on your mobile phones. So let me give another of my practical example. So all the examples I am giving, it practically happens to me. I was in a mall in one of the Gurgaon mall. If you have seen, it is ambience mall. How many of you have gone there? It's a very huge mall. You have to travel 2 kilometers. My wife and me enter into the mall. She went somewhere, I went somewhere. She did the shopping, I did my shopping. After 2 hours, she came back and called me, hey, come and pay the money. So I came here, I paid the money, I kept my mobile there. I kept the mobile there and both of us left. After some time, I find out where is my mobile. So I was getting mad. I was searching here and there, going, where I lost my mobile. In the meantime, the person where I have paid my money, he came and told, sir, you have kept your mobile in the paying debts. So I was very happy getting the mobile. And then in the meantime, I find out my wife is very angry. I told her, why you are so angry? Because we got the mobile back. She told me, I went for 2 hours, you don't care me. Your mobile went for 2 minutes and you are getting back. So that is the power of mobile now. That is the power of the device. That does not mean that I don't like my wife or I don't love my wife. I love her a lot. So the important thing is that we need to understand how the technology has been penetrated in our life. If you do not get a message, you do not get a WhatsApp call, you do not get any kind of Google or a perplexity, or you can use ChatGPT, you feel very uncomfortable. So that is where actually the technology has penetrated in our life. If the technology penetrates, the biggest problem lies how to save that technology. So that is where AI is now coming into picture. AI will play again I am telling, everywhere I go, I told AI is a horizontal technology. Don't consider AI as a vertical technology. It will be used either healthcare, education, safety, power and utilities. So everywhere you can use AI techniques. You can build either mechanical engineering students, if you are building a very good AI applications, your next destination is Elon Musk. It's building the car where actually you can get the chance there. If you are developing the applications, you can go Facebook and Google, you can use the AI-based applications. So these are the power of AI used in every corner of the life that we are going to use it. But having said that, yesterday I was seeing that there was a discussion happening in BBC. Sundar Pichai told that AI is a bubble get burst. If it is get burst, then what will happen? No technology company will immune from that. The kind of infrastructure that they are building, which was never been thought when actually we are building the new generation technologies. Now this kind of things are coming. Based on this, all the technology parameters have been built and they have been found out what is their cost that is involved and how actually they are going to use in the practical scenario. So I thought I will give a specific example of Gen AI, what exactly we are building in our cyber defense system. When I say we are building, we are now working with almost all the telecom operators. PwC is providing the cyber security defense mechanism for all telecom service providers. You might be thinking we are consultants. We only come and speak. No. It's not like that. We built the real technology, and that is served for all the telecom operators. We have a huge security operations centers, and it has been generative AI based, and this is called as agentic AI. We are building the agents and how we can take care of the cyber defense mechanism. I'm not going to the deep and dive of the technologies that we are using. I'm giving you the idea that if you consider AI as your career, to build as AI engineers, AI architects, ML engineers, ML architects, definitely you consider us. This will give a lot of importance when you use AI as well as cyber security. These are the two technologies that will create the job for the next 10 years. Either you want to take the careers in AI or cyber security, or if you want to together take a career, AI in cyber security and cyber security in AI. There are two things inbuilt there, so that will create a huge amount of job. So we built let me give a little bit technicality of this. When you build a cyber defense center, you have to find out the threat mechanism inside it. You have a threat intelligence machine inbuilt there. And that threat intelligence machine is run by machine language and machine learning algorithms. And these machine, think about, I'm learning machine learning algorithms, and these learning algorithms will analyze a huge amount of logs. Previously it was analyzed by the human beings. The moment the machine analyzes huge amount of logs, it takes a very quick response. If there will be attack happens, it takes a very quick response, and then the attack can be diverted or attack can be killed. So there are a lot of probability we build in the logic. So that way actually it will help. But think about a country which is not democratic, building a machine language algorithms, putting its own data sets. The data sets has been biased by their own methodology, and it is built in your machines. It will be operated in your system, and the algorithms will behave as per their requirement. We have seen now the report has come how the nation states has been using AI to build the machine learning algorithms to put an attack and to generate the attacks and to simulate the attack, and then all the attacks will go from one to another points without any human interference, and then that will create a huge havoc to the human society. So that's why wherever I go, recently in ITU in Geneva, I told, can we build privacy by security? We have already built. Now we are building privacy by design. Can we build ethics by design in AI system? There are many countries who will not agree with you. They may be silent when you go to the ITU and all these things, they will just see and find out what exactly happens. It's a very hard problem, not that easy that you are going to build ethics in the AI systems, which is a very literally hard problem. You have to consider those things. So that is where you have to find out how all these things will be built in the next generation. And you guys are the perfect place, perfect time, perfect technological changes are happening, and your career will go into many folds if you build and think about all these industry problems, rather than working the traditional problems when actually you are appearing for your next generation things. So before going to all these things, I just want to say my last slide, that is called as AI has been taken huge amount of data and they will be working together. So I have told you, working on cloud environment, inbuilding AI, all this technology will work hand in hand, and providing cyber security on top of that. How to control all these technologies? Once again, I am giving the example I used to give is always happens to me. I was traveling from Delhi to Bombay. When I was traveling from Delhi to Bombay in Indigo flight. How many of you have traveled in Indigo flight? Very good. So Indigo flight, there is no bar. You can see the pilot going and pilot coming out. You can easily see. So Indigo flight was taking, that time it was raining heavily. And then after some times, the pilot went to the restroom. And the flight go to a lot of toss. And in near to me, a very senior old age man was sitting. He was looking like this, where the pilot has gone. So I told, don't worry, pilot has gone to the restroom, and it is a Airbus 320 Neo flights. It is highly artificial intelligence based systems are inbuilt there. Lot of machine learning algorithms are there. Will generate lot of data points so they can control. But he was telling me, "Arey wait here, you ye bekar baat suna." So then he was looking like this. In the meantime, the pilot came and that guy was started taking Hanuman mantra. Because we always believe our God, right? So he was chanting Hanuman mantra. In the meantime, the pilot came and go to the cockpit and the flight get settled. So he told me, what you guys are doing? I said, sir, I am working in a multinational company. No. What is your qualification? I said, I am a PhD from IIT Bombay. He told, that is the problem. You technologists always talk about what? Technology, algorithms, all these things. But how the flight gets settled, it is done by the pilots. So the example of giving this is that no technology will, I learned a lesson from that gentleman. No technology will replace human being. AI will never replace a human being. So the false myths going on that AI will replace so many things, that is a false myth. So basically what will happen, AI will complement a lot of job opportunity for youngsters like you. So therefore, when you learn all these technologies, you have to control the technologies. You need a lot of professionals who can control artificial intelligence, working on cloud, artificial intelligence, working on different big data. So you need a lot of technologists who can control all these different combinations of the technology. So therefore, it is very essential we have to learn AI and we have to learn the techniques how actually you can calibrate your careers accordingly. So another example I just want to give you, in terms of artificial intelligence, the biggest threat that we are facing is called as, anybody can guess what is the biggest threat we are facing? The biggest threat we are facing is deepfake. We are creating images, we are creating the videos based on artificial intelligence, and those images and videos are mimicked. They are giving a lot of problems to the human beings. I will give a practical example. A person from Hong Kong who was a CFO, and he got a call in the midnight in the voice of CEO that please transfer $5 million in my account. The CFO has to oblige the CEO. The CFO has to oblige the CEO. The CFO, what he did, he transferred the $5 million to the account given by that person who was mimicked with the CEO voice, giving some wrong information. So he transferred. After transferring around 12:30 night, it's a real example. It's not an example that I am giving you. 2 o'clock he thought, let me check with the CEO. Why need $5 million at midnight? When the CFO called the CEO, and the CEO was telling, I did not call you, I did not ask any money. Why you transfer $5 million without my consent? You know that CFO has gone to a huge mental turmoil, and it was a huge case in the Hong Kong, I don't want to take the organization name. So that is the power of AI if you are misusing. Another example I am giving, I came from Odisha, a place where the government is giving some kind of welfare schemes. The government is giving welfare schemes. One of the welfare schemes is called as Subhadra Yojana. Subhadra Yojana means the government is giving some kind of money to the young ladies to do something But one young man came to me, he came to know I am working in cyber security. He came to me, told, sir, I have lost 1.5 lakh. I said, how you lost 1.5 lakhs? He told, sir, I lost 1.5 lakhs because in the Subhadra Yojana, there is one link come. And he told, I click that link and I give my Aadhaar number, I give my PAN number, and my money is getting deducted. I say, Subhadra Yojana is only for ladies. You are not a lady. Why you click that link? So that is the cyber security awareness we need to create. First of all, there is no awareness. Second of all, he has given all the details. But anyway, by the way, I talked to the police commissioner, bank managers. So we do a lot of things. He could get 1 lakh money back and still 50,000 he has been not get. But having said that, there have been things that you need to understand in the modern age and modern year, because you have to find out how actually the technology has been penetrated in our life. I'll give the last example and then I'll stop. The real fake image was there when actually Lakshman fight with Meghna. You have seen in our mythology, right? In the mythology you will see Lakshman was fighting with Meghna, means Meghna was creating multiple fake images. That time you are using artificial intelligence, you are using multiple fake images. And who identified all these images? Out of the multiple fake images, it is Lakshman, who was an Indian, who has identified the real image and he killed that particular demon. So that is we have learned from our mythology. I told these things in United Nations when I was giving my speech. A lot of people say, oh, India has this kind of things existed previously. I say yes. So why I am giving this example? Don't underestimate the power of Indians. They have the power where actually you can make and break the technology and you can do a lot of things. That is where our Honorable Prime Minister told that let us make the technology better for using, and I am very happy that His Excellency has told in the morning that technology should be used for human mankind, which he told UK and India are very much close to each other. Yes sir, they are very much close to each other. So there have been a lot of commonality in between them and they can make the life of our people better. So thank you very much. Thank you. If you want one or two questions, I can take it. Not an issue. Don't be afraid, I am not your teacher. Okay, if you don't have any question, thank you once again. Thank you and have a good day to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Professor at AKCIT University of Calcutta with over over 20 years of experience and more than 150 publications. She also leads major international initiatives. I now invite Professor Chucky to deliver her keynote address. Madam, please.
Very good afternoon. I can see that there has been very interesting talks from morning, and somebody previously has already talked about sustainability, and the last talk by Dr. Nayak was very interesting. It's all about 5G and the security and the challenges. So for me, I'll be talking about robotic system design issues and mitigation. When I talk about this, I must say this is inspired by our work with our students around us, Bab and Mandira, and our group with Professor Cortesi and Lavendu Chucky in Calcutta University. So this talk is actually an offshoot from the discussions that we are having for the last 2-3 years, continually over online and sometimes offline. So here's to the systems and what exactly is robotic system. Let's talk about this is a brief overview about how I'm going through this. Initially, I'll be talking about the robotic system integration, type of robotic systems, what perception and path planning means. Excuse me, my dear students, if you are not interested, you can of course go. But please don't disturb others. And I'll talk about some features of ROS, basic framework that I have chosen to discuss today. And that's all about. So what exactly is a robotic system? So when you talk about robotic system, it's about robots and the systems that enable functionalities with high efficiency and accessibility among the users. Fine. So that means we are actually talking about cyber physical systems, which are actually very, very complex systems consisting of distributed logic, running across sensors, actuators, control systems, and a lot many things. So when you talk about robotic systems, there are two main categories. One is the industrial robots, and another is the mobile robots. For the mobile robots, we have the basic explorators and the servers. And when you talk about the serving robots, of course there are many different types. Some of them are like professional robots, which are being used in the healthcare systems, in the factories, and of course the personal robots, which are there to help us in our everyday work. So for any robotic system, there is an integration process which will consist of sensors and softwares bounded together by robotic system integrators, which are connecting to the end users. Now, the main type of robot, industrial robots, they are mainly designed for picking up and clamping activities, also used for spotting and arc welding, clamping for machining, manipulation and transfer of parts with the help of sensors, software, and a network of complex mechanical gestures. So the basic map of a robotic system integration is something like this, where you can have the inspection robot, the welding hands, there is the basic power system, there are the lab view desktops, the UT probes, the cameras, and the laser profilers, and many more things. So when you talk about mobile robots, of course, the most common ones are the automated guided vehicles, or AGVs, which are programmed to navigate along lines, across surfaces, or within some designated areas. So AGVs are the robots which we can use to understand the radiation level at some nuclear power plant like Chernobyl, where humans are yet to go. So once we want to understand the radiation level at the moment, we have to use this kind of robots which are preloaded with the maps of the nuclear power plant of the area, and they are supposed to go and measure the radiation levels and come back and beam the results or the radiation levels to the nearest receptors. So these are normally paired with robotic arms in order to have their capabilities to be greatly amplified, and they can then work in mobile workstations and can do a lot of tasks such as remote manipulation, tele-manipulation, scanning and probing. So this is one example of ADB. Please excuse the strange kind of a heading because it's, I thought that I would be using the I app, the iOS. So it seems there is some mismatch between the I and the U. So anyway, this is how it performs a diverse array of tasks. So the routes for AGVs are to be carefully designed in order to prevent any obstacles, blockages or interferences that might disturb their activities. Remember that they require a flat, smooth terrain to function efficiently, as they are not built to handle uneven surfaces like holes, bumps or cracks. In order to understand that there is a bump across, they have to be programmed in a separate manner. Of course, they have to be having a very good sense of perception of surroundings. So these are some things that need sensors ranging from vision systems to LIDAR and radar for accurately measuring and relating their position to globally and relative to continuously changing conditions, including when you are moving across hospital corridors or streets. They have to understand how many pedestrians are moving across, whether there are any forklifts and unexpected obstacles. So all of these things are to be perceived, and that is actually a very complex task to be performed by the robot. So when you go for path planning, this is something which happens. So you try to move from the origin to the required position by a robot. So whatever is the trajectory, as you can see in the trajectory, we have, okay, so we have the trajectory, and in case there is a trajectory error, there is a local path that has been calculated, and a regenerated local path can be seen as which actually replaces the trajectory error, and there is a red line, red dotted line, which can actually go for, which will substitute the erratic path and take the robot from the origin to the required position. So this is an example which I tried to show just for the fun part, where there's basically an autonomous vehicle, you can say, which is in the category of cleaning, personal robot helping in cleaning. So I don't know whether it is possible to play it. There was a video, that is something which, I'm sorry, again there is a difference between the I and the U apps, I and the M apps here. So it was perfectly running perfectly fine. Anyway, sorry, we will go for the next slide. Okay, so for the route planning, when you go for the route planning, we try to have the most efficient and collision-free path within a facility to execute any kind of transport assignments. That is, obviously, we are thinking of pathfinding algorithms, which are, of course, the A-stars, Dijkstra's, and rapidly exploring random trees, and many more. So when you understand that there is a robot moving around you, of course, something that has to be, it has to face some unplanned objects in its path. And how does it actually face that object, and how much it has to back up, and how much it has to go, how does it decide whether it goes right or it goes left. So it's basically something which every autonomous autonomous vehicle and robots has to decide, and that is really a very complex task which has to be managed by a series of features combined together in ROS and of course built on the typical operating system. So these are the things that are basically necessary in order to have a proper, efficient robot running around to do to assist us. So basically, a robotic operating system is just a framework for robotic software development, which is not a real operating system. It has some operating system-like functionalities, which obviously does some hardware abstractions, also message passing. It is able to handle the message passing between different robots and handle the conflicts rising from them. Also the package management, besides handling a huge community of developers, and basically being open source, it allows us a great level of flexibility. So this is how the ROS is actually performing, and if you look at it in a image, so this is how it is shown in the ROS. So we have the internet, we have the ROS bridge, and then there are the nodes. Well, in ROS, every device is considered to be a node. So ROS packages, as you can see, are made up of nodes, which are executable programs that are performing a specific tasks. And you can see that it has applications or algorithms. So in case a mobile robot has multiple sensors and actuators, each can have drivers or wrappers that enable the robots to use their features for which they are built. And of course, this is an example of a robot going from point A to point B, and you know that the simple robot could have an IMU for localization, of course a leader to map its surrounding to avoid all the obstacles that might come in its path, and definitely a motor control to move the wheels in order to go to the different locations for which it is programmed. Now, to come to the basic thing that I was aiming to is the security part. There are different works that have been going on regarding how to face the security threats that happen, that are attacking different levels of modern robots like software stacks, distributed denial of service and all those. So while going through all of this, I have actually chosen one paper which is a really very interesting one, offering a 4-layer framework for security. This is something like a robot security framework which talks about 4 layers. It actually considers 4 layers of robotic system, where there is a physical layer which has 2 different aspects, the ports and the components, and then there are the network layers which has 3 different aspects, the internal robot network and the external network, and also the firmware aspects, where it is considering the OS, middleware and firmware, and the application aspects, where there are many of them. So I will just consider the details, how they have gone through the different aspects of layers. So the physical layer aspect, when you talk about the physical layer, the objective is to identify the presence of unprotected external ports as well as unprotected internal ports. So the rationale is that if there are unprotected external ports, they can be attacked in physical proximity to perform a variety of attacks. So the first thing is, of course, what you do is open all the doors which are not protected by locks and look for ports inside. So that's a very typical thing that happens in case of unprotected external ports. As for presence of internal communication ports, the objective is to identify the presence of unprotected internal ports, and the rationale is that unplugging robot components can potentially lead to exposure of internal communication ports. So typically, these internal communication ports are not protected in the robots. So we may serve as an entry point and allow attackers in physical proximity to perform a variety of attacks. So what we do is, it's basically opening any door not protected by a lock, and then open those protected and look for robot components and their buses, and then investigate ventilation holes and see if they are wide enough to access internal communication ports. So this is about the ports. As for the security of external internal communication ports, we verify if attackers can sniff or modify any critical data during communication with a docking station or by connecting to the ports. So the method is try to connect to the identified communication port and then try to determine if authentication is required. So in case you need a network access control for Ethernet, or assess whether the communication is encrypted and then try communicating with them, attempt fuzzing to discover if the robot state can be affected. So in case a robot connects to a docking station to transfer some data, you try to use sniffers to see how the data exchange is being done. For example, you can verify if some sensitive configuration or control data is transferred in clear text, which normally doesn't happen. So, availability of components from outside. So this aspect, when you look at this, your objective is to identify the internal hardware that is accessible from outside. So we inspect the robot body, this is a physical thing, and look for accessible parts like the sensors, actuators, computation units, etc. and open all the doors which are not protected by locks and look for accessible components inside. Okay. So when talking about monitoring and alerting capabilities criteria, the objective is to identify whether there is any rogue access to the internal hardware of the robot, and the rationale behind this objective is that having no verification whether the internals of the robot were accessed or not means that the attackers can easily tamper with any components or install a hardware trojan just unnoticeably. So that is one thing that is being taken care of by this particular framework. And also, considering the review logs of physical changes in the robot, that is one thing where the objective is to verify the logs of the robot and look for any kind of tampering action. Obviously, the physical security parts are much easily understandable and implementable. So let's now look forward to the network layer. For network layer, we have two aspects, basically the internal robot network and the external robot network. For the internal robot network, they try to determine and assess network accessibility and the corresponding protection mechanisms that are already present within the network. So the method is, they're trying to validate whatever authentication mechanism, and they're verifying that no known vulnerabilities are present on such. If internal network is password protected, they're attempting common password guessing, verifying whether the robot logs both successful and unsuccessful login attempts. So that is for internal robot. And also looking at the fingerprinting part. So we are trying to mitigate the fingerprinting impact on the internal networks. So we're performing fingerprinting attacks first. We're trying to have some fingerprinting attack simulate and then evaluate the information that is being obtained with the manufacturer's available data and try to assess the impact. In case it is necessary, we propose a mitigation strategy through the use of scrubbers, which is a very commonly known technique proposed in about 2007. As for communication protocol security, the criteria was objective is to check if used communication protocol is up to date, secure, and has no known vulnerabilities. The method is to identify all the present communication capabilities by inspecting the documentation, by consulting the developers, or by manual analysis. Analyze if used protocol versions provide encryption and mutual authentication. So for this part, the monitoring, alert, and response capabilities, the rationale behind the objective is to proper security controls on the internal network might be challenging due to hardware limitations, and so they are going for sweeping the internal robot network and enumerate the entry points, try to match the fingerprints identified and to map the known vulnerabilities, verify whether the robot acts upon such events, and either the robot responds to the incidents proactively and operator receives a real-time alert and acts based on the procedures that has been already programmed. Of course, there are threats to the firewall as well. So we have to identify whether the internal network is separated from external by any firewall, and we inspect the documentation, that is the basic thing that has been supplied by the manufacturer, and then inspect the settings, and if a VPN is used, verify that there are rules which allow the components or modules to communicate with the outside world only via the tunnel of VPN. As for external network accessibility, the objective is to determine and assess network accessibility and the corresponding protection mechanisms. The method is to validate the authentication mechanisms and verify that no known vulnerabilities are present. It's similar to internal network accessibility part, but also a little bit different because we are talking about verifying whether the robot logs successful and unsuccessful login attempts from the outside world. Similar to the internal network fingerprinting part, we are also taking care of the external network fingerprinting and communication protocol security. Of course, the third layer is the firmware layer, where the consideration is about the operating system. So the first thing is underlying OS updates. We check for that and verify that it's still supported by the manufacturers. As you know, that ROS has been active for last 20 years, I suppose, and we are already having only 3 or 4 versions. Every year in May, a new version of ROS is coming out. So only 3 or 4 versions of ROS are now supported by the system, by the manufacturers. So the method is check if the underlying OS is still maintained, and check whether the latest security updates are applied, and check if there is an update mechanism is present, and if updates are authenticated when transferred to the node. As for the middleware part, besides the OS, we verify code compliance, and objective is in those cases where it applies, we ensure compliance of the middleware code against the established compliance mechanisms. So the method is to determine the exact set of guidelines that are being applied, validate whether these guidelines have been implemented. And the final layer is the application layer, which deals with the basic access control, where we verify that the resources are accessible only to authorized users or services. As Dr. Nayak was pointing, this is very, very important, and we try to access to the restricted functions by anonymous users or users with lower access control rights diminishes all the benefits of the access control. So what we do, log in with the authorized credentials and attempt to perform different actions, record the requests that are being made, then log out and attempt to send the same requests as unauthenticated user, verify whether it is successful, then log out and log in again as a user with lower access right, attempt to send the same request again, verify whether it is successful. So it's basically a three-time verification. And the privacy aspect, yes, the objective is to identify whether the robot is compliant to the privacy policies that apply. So this is typically acceptable, this is typically useful in cases where robot is being used in case of in healthcare systems, where we have to understand that the health data is not accessible to persons whom we do not want to have access to our health data. Like for some student, they may be actually reporting sick to their teachers, not attending the classes, but at the same time they may be actually going for some excursion. So the health data that has been updated in the server about being sick should not be accessed by their parents at the same time. Because in that case, the health data is accessed by their parents, and the parents will be really angry or really anxious to see what has happened to their children, whether they are seriously sick or not. Whereas in reality, they have actually gone just for some excursion. So you know that type of access that has been given to the health data of the student, that that is only to be decided by the student who can actually access that particular data. At the moment, the student will be happy to share the access with the college authorities, but not with the parent. But this can be reversed as well. So it's very important about considering the privacy aspect. So as far as the robots are concerned, we have to understand, we have to verify that minimum personally identifiable information is being collected by each robot, and verify that this information is collected, users are made aware of it. As Dr. Nayak was saying, we are very, very less aware about whatever information we are actually giving out to the internet. We are not even bothering where the information is going. We are just seeing the front, the facade, and we are not even bothered about where it is going. So that's about it, and verify that all the PII is stored and transmitted in a secure manner. Again, this is a very typical thing about security. The data that is being collected by the robotic system has to be transmitted in a very secure manner, has to be stored in a very safe custody. How? Something that has to be thought about. And of course, there are the data protection criteria. There is the General Data Protection Regulation in the European Union, and also by the Government of India, they have a new data protection rule that has come up in 2023. In fact, it's a modified data protection rule, whereby we have actually started, we have now actually classified every human data to be sensitive information. So all the data that is being collected about you is now categorized as sensitive. So it's not so easy to get hold of your data, of your personal data, because it is being protected. It is being categorized under sensitive data. Unless you have special permission, you are not allowed to have access to this data. So first of all, for getting the special permissions, we have to assess the legitimate interest, assess the concept level, assess the information provisions, assess the third-party data, the profiling, and also we have to assess the legacy data. Also same, when we are talking about the integrity checks of our robotic systems, our objective is to identify whether the system performs an integrity check of critical components and takes action if they are not present or modified. So the rationale is tampering with any of the critical components can make the robot cause physical damage to people and property. It seems the time is running out, so I just have to jump a few slides. Okay, so of course there are the accounts aspect for the robotic systems, for which we have to also provide the security and also the communication aspect. And I will just, because I have actually almost no time to go through the Turtlebot and Gazebo experience, but these are some things which are necessary in order to simulate any kind of robotic softwares. So I will be sharing the PPT with your college people, faculty, in order to get it shared with you later. So I'll just jump through all of them just before I can arrive at my conclusion. And some of the graphs from our students' experiments that are already running successfully. And finally we arrive at the conclusion where we understand that basically I have discussed a robotic system design, which we understand that it needs special attention because of its complex nature and because of the type of applications where it is being deployed. And I have chosen a work which presents a 4-layer security framework for robotic system. Okay, so that's a long road ahead. Keep working. Thank you very much. In case any questions, I think we can take it during the break, right? Already the students are sleeping.
very much for the interesting session. Now we will have lunch break, but I am requesting all to come back at this auditorium by 2:15 p.m. And dear students, please stay a while here. And all the authors and dignitaries, I am requesting you all to go to CMS building for lunch. Students, please stay here. Students, please stay here. Dear students, please stay here.